Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
Chairman Wontumi ekopi mo Accra High Court na ni na efa ye ne Samreboi na ze the galamsey issues and sensem na ona we na court just Chairman Wontumi anhwe ye ni obetumi akobe 20 years e wo prison. PENDREAM TV so ni se we ni wo ha subscribe to the channel na me hu wadwenche e wo comment section ho ye koti ensema e course abra Chairman Wontumi ekopi mo e wo court e fa ne galamsey issues and say ne illegal mining and sensem na.
And as we know it, news just coming in, we know now that Chairman Wontumi will be going to jail for 20 years. Let's go to the Accra High Court now and speak to my colleague Fatal Bayaga, who is currently there to give us the very latest on this. Fatal, brief us. What is happening at the court now?
Mami, basically the court is done declaring this particular crucial judgment here. This judgment just a few minutes ago. It took more than an hour reading the judgment here. And Mami, this morning, and in fact the arguments in court were very interesting, but want to hear from the aide of Chairman Wontumi, who himself has always been coming to court with him almost every time. We just want to get a few words from him. He doesn't want to talk to us, but we'll try as much as possible to get a word from him at this particular point. He's been crucial supporting Wontumi in almost every time that he comes to court, but he doesn't want to engage the media. Clearly, from his demeanor, he looks quite disappointed at this particular point, knowing that his man is going to prison at the moment. But let's try and see if he would say just a few words here at the High Court. After Judge Audrey Kokovite delivered this judgment just a few minutes ago. It took more than an hour reading the judgment here. And Mami, in Criminal Code 4, the whole process began when Charles Boache, who was in court holding the brief of Atachia, and basically on his feet, moving the motion. I mean, basically explaining that they are in court today in order to inform the court about the fact that they filed a motion for a deferment of the judgment because they were seeking constitutional interpretation of some provisions of the Minerals and Mining Act, and they say that if these provisions are not interpreted properly, it means that their client will not be sentenced fairly. But the court dismissed that particular motion. Another thing that happened in court was that the lawyer also informed the judge about the fact that Atachia is currently out of the jurisdiction, and for that reason they would pray to the courts for the ruling or for the motion to be moved to a day after Wednesday, 22nd July. But the judge simply dismissed that as well, and in her view in the court, she basically said that Atachia was in court the last time when the court sat, and in fact he initially prayed for more time for him to familiarize himself with the case, the proceedings that went on before he took over this particular case. The court granted him that particular time, and that Atachia was well aware that the court was going to deliver this judgment. He should have told the court that he wouldn't be around today, but he never did that. And in fact, according to Audrey Kokovite, an experienced lawyer judge here at the High Court, she said if Atachia had told the court that he wouldn't be around today, then the consultations would have gone on, and in order to set an appropriate day for this particular judgment to happen, but he never did that. So it was incompetent, it was smooth lawyers or for Atachia to even write to the court and telling the court that he wouldn't be around today. So the judge simply dismissed that particular letter as well, and then went on to read the judgment. It took more than an hour basically reading this particular motion, and when she read the motion, the judgment at some point, she clearly said that based on the evidence adduced by the prosecution, Chairman Wontumi was found guilty on the charges that were slapped against him. And Mami, and prosecution called 4 witnesses. The defense, that's Wontumi's lawyers themselves, also called 5 witnesses, including Chairman Wontumi himself today. And the judge basically said that the prosecution was able to adduce sufficient evidence that meant that Chairman Wontumi would be convicted. When she was done reading the judgment, basically, so once she was done reading the judgment, the counsel in court today, who was holding a brief of Samuel Atachia, Charles Boachi, was on his feet, and he sought litigation. I mean, he sought to mitigate the process, in order for the court to reduce the number of years that Wontumi would get at this particular point. He did that. He was so nervous whilst trying to plead the court to reduce the number of years. His hands were shaky in that particular process. He did that after a few minutes, and then another person who also rose on his feet, he also mentioned the fact that he wanted to explain to the court that Chairman Wontumi has a lot of businesses, and for that reason, if Chairman Wontumi is eventually sentenced to so many years, that could affect all of that. But let's listen to one of the lawyers who was in court today, just to appreciate what he makes of this particular process.
We are around that. Because yes, I do appreciate that, yes, there are situations where the veil of incorporation could be lifted and directors could be held responsible. It is not in all situations that those things are applicable. So I'm sure it's an area his lawyers would have to look at and see if it will open up some areas of appeal for him. But I'm a bit worried and a bit sad.
20 years for an offense that the minimum is 15, maximum 25. The judge, I think, might have listened to your plea, don't you believe?
Probably she did, probably she did not. Because I was of the view that the minimum sentence was okay. Because I made a point that getting Wontumi out of the picture, that is incarcerating him, may affect a lot of things, especially his businesses, the number of people he employs and all that. So that was the appeal I was making to the court, that yes, the court has come to the conclusion and convicted Mr. Wontumi for all the offenses. But in terms of the sentences, I mean, the court ought to consider his significance in society, especially the chain of businesses he owns. And I also made the point that currently we are struggling with a lot of youth employment. And if the court itself has established that Mr. Wontumi is the directing minds of all his businesses, it means it's very crucial to his businesses. So getting him away from his businesses in giving him such long sentence may negatively impact on the businesses, and the young people who get jobs through his businesses and all that, they'll come onto the streets as unemployed, adding to the huge numbers who are already on the streets with no employment. So that was the appeal I made to the court, that the court should consider this particular circumstance of Mr. Wontumi and probably give him the barest minimum of sentence. That was what I did. I don't.
The argument that it should be as a deterrent sentence to persons, especially the fight against illegal
considering
mining.
the way
You see, I am not in any way encouraging anybody to go into illegal mining. And for me, the point I was making is that, yes, Mr. Wontumi may have committed the offense, but it was the bigger picture I was looking at, because he was going to be sentenced anyway. So my mitigation was to reduce the sentence, that's all. It's not to put in a defense for whatever he might have done or not. Exactly.
What is your relationship with Wontumi?
I thought he would have been given the barest minimum.
What is your relationship?
I don't know him
with
from anywhere.
Wontumi?
Probably we just share a name. I'm Bernard, he's Bernard. I have no relationship with Mr. Wontumi. Maybe because he's my namesake. But I only felt that as a lawyer, these things happen. It's not because it's Mr. Wontumi. There are times when you are in court and you feel like you need to probably intervene as a friend of the court. It is something we do out of ordinary practice. It is not because it was Mr. Wontumi. We have done this several times where we believe that we need to add our voice in mitigation. Remember, it is not against the conviction. It was just to intervene with the number of years he was going to be given. So it was against the sentencing that we were trying to mitigate, that the court should give him the barest minimum. It was not against his conviction. So it is not as if I did that to probably encourage illegal mining. No. It was just for the courts to understand that Mr. Wontumi is just not like you and myself. He owns a lot of businesses. So the court, I don't know if she considered that But well, I'm sure his lawyers would advise him accordingly.
So that's
allow me to go.
Bernard Oredu.
Bernard Oredu there talking to the press at the Accra High Court. Basically, he was one of the lawyers who was on his feet in criminal court for, and in fact, in his arguments in court, he told the judge that Wontumi has so many businesses and that if his sentence, if the years are too many, that could cripple some of the businesses, and many of the people who are currently employed by Chairman Wontumi's companies may lose their jobs, among other things. But the judge, in her, concluding part of the judgment, said that this is to serve as a deterrent to other people who are currently, involved in illegal mining, and went ahead to give Wontumi, or to sentence Wontumi for 20 years. But it was very interesting, Mami, in court today. In fact, Wontumi himself, in the process of the judgment, whilst Audrey Kokovite was reading the judgment, so he was clearly, shaking his head repeatedly in apparent disapproval of some of the things that the judge was talking about, and he was also consistently looking at the people who were sitting in court and basically, laughing and all of that. So at the moment, it is clear that the court has now made its determination in this particular matter. And Mami, in fact, some of the interesting things that have happened in relation to this particular trial is that the case began in October, with the case management conference, among other things, and Yapiakubi was the lead counsel. He argued in court so many times for Chairman Wontumi, but something unexpected happened just before this particular judgment. Even in May, Mami, when the prosecution brought its witnesses, 4 witnesses, after concluding their evidence, presenting their evidence in court, the Wontumi's counsel filed a moment.
Well, he's keeping it cool. I mean, definitely he knows that he's not guilty of any crime at all. And in the fullness of time, he'll be vindicated. And that's the most important thing.
And I mean, with regards to the arrest, you indicated that no charges have been pressed yet.
Yes.
Something that you're going to follow up?
Yes, so the law gives us a number of options. Enforcement of his fundamental human rights. We can institute an action for unlawful arrest and for damages for all the injury and the harm that has been occasioned him by the unlawful detention. Well, I think first and foremost, the conduct of the state must really be emphasized by you guys. I'm quite surprised that the state will actually behave in this way, conduct itself in a way just to violate a citizen of Ghana in this manner. They, of course, prevented the court order from being obeyed by arresting him and detaining him for the period that you all know, 4 days and 4 nights and all. And then deliberately filed the motion and face it until after the lapse of the order. And I'm surprised that the Deputy Attorney General will come to court and seeking to revoke an order which has lapsed. So clearly that application was incompetent, could not be granted because the order had lapsed. And they orchestrated the lapse of the order because they arrested him, put him in their cells, and they seized his passport for him, prevent him from traveling and all that.
Anyone who say we na yaba for our street so a who cause who defending yankoye one say we nim nyansa. Ye, hwe lori kwanya wonam so. Hwe baby a wonam ani ne awudi ekire one say we nim nyansa. Edi wona we MPP ni ba mapa na wa bre na mo ye founding fathers of the party and the latter day saint one we japade o maye. It is some ranch over Baba Kacha ye massa ye yambobra. Say the political office at the Mawa. Anunti anya every crown Bible cry actually say e kase nipa be wu na owuechi atemu ewo. Enti ade bia ye de ahye wonsa say wo say wo ye no sa de kode no at the end of the day I was so ubu akonta. Why ye juma bebu akonta MB before said there be na yansu yaba ye mubi. Say because you agree way say anya MPP na party asenso de ya abua wonwo ngurema. Yey. Ena mu ye ya yesu ebe ye mubi. Enti gomunja mu na mu wia. Sena beya abai no so kwa na musu meja wo. Is that the mindset? say why you lem and I want to ho. And when you listen to the pro MPP media houses now, young Kenyans are saying anchere. You see the entire Dennis Mirakrabaji yatin in say in 2012 John Dramani Mahama at secretariat be our secretariat na ya no and no and aya Nanado Danko Kufado abaye no ano use the same secretariat to say ye about the 2 regions na regions ni about the no Dennis Miracle Abwaji anye CEO anonya onye CEO awosa secretariat no IMMC na sa secretariat no ana omu atiye no mami fa amau na hunu nenti a ya che no tie aya interministerial coordinating committee on decentralization na yati no 2012 first executive secretary Dr. Callistus Mahama na emre nanado azumi office no ena yadima yenua Dennis Miracle Abwaji somewhere in 2022 sa omeda no na abranche we beda no ena aban asesaye. So in 2025 NDC take you over no the new executive secretary Dr. Gamali Kudibe Hodofia onu anoya current executive secretary ano si there be amranche bi betena ha na womu na no mu ye adwuma na misusu se ansa na maba betena se executive secretary no e was say yenya nhwehwem wo mu ndwumadi o mu adim ampa wo mu ye nhwehwem no ana o mu hu se Dennis Miracle Abwaji ana accountant woni other staff o mu ho no o di dream o ma wiye sika tie ni ye etu ye donkey me dey wa kwaso asukwa no ma meka say wo donkey ya wo di achiko wo 50 plus years wo 60 years wo 70 years wo yamu ba 41 years yesusu se we wie sika wo kwaso ye nja no wonim nyansa ye enti aya accountant no de wagye to say ampa sika no omapodwe ana wo sha asese otua Dennis Miracle Abwaji ye aware all the time bia okoyi oku ho na umu already achiwe wasa ba betre radio so there say ora no anye adwuma Abushia you're from Alaska the commander with a commanding voice here we speak to power na yamaga na hu MPP as a political party a criminal organization. They are criminals. It's an internal election kaka koso. Shadi eko. Woman dim raso baby adi court injunction ato sukrano yasi ye injunction na to ni atoaba. Enti utie de ayabobo de atiro eni nsema yaka de atiro yia enne sa amira wu koi na ka bi ko bowu ama eku tie bibia me kasa wo oman na yefra ne Ghana ne kita sunsumu enti obi biara obeya na adwen se odi akoma papa ebedi oman we anim na mamu be koyie President John Dramani Mahama nkwaji busua wo ba bia President John Mahama baye no my way in the firm but then send so wa kuma papa no what be papa be the more my way ti hwe send your mind no na nanum abosompo na nanum tigarefo na nanum muslimifo Christopher obiam paye bo amane hwe send your mampani onam wa FFF afa hwe send your no oman aflourish na nyama akoye afa but abai no twam ni de krono ana be dra o my we anoti ema mu bibia nkoye but how will you feel sir a former finance minister abebe di o man we so wie ya baby papa wo tifie dui afa na so mi kwa abruchiri akotana ha den ya mi kwosesa mi nkrata mi nya Ghana ni bio akontebu nti en MPP ni mpanifo ntumi ma bontin be ka se bra na be yi wa no because ni esika nyina kutawo me si mi kura mi tu hoi enesa ye de duma bia ma me na wo se mi ko bu akonta ye ba chi me emma because me di no nka ho bi enti wuna na wuti public office no sanso na ye de adwuma bi hye won sa a wo se ubu ho akonta na Ghana for ehunia ekoso enen bibia ka cha boy we so ena wo ba ye hu hwe wo ba sika ni hye wo to no sika be no fam wo man ho bra criminals from Alaska they don the commander with a commanding voice enti MB before no in the coming days one mama bo man ni kro no abo man no ye be publish one no ho nia ekoso ye chichama Wontumi se papa yi ni wa koje contract ono be ye Cocoa Rose no akwa ezimma no akwa sika ye nya papa fu mpanifo bi so na we ya political persecution chama Wontumi nya hwe ye ana wakọ se sika na yampa na obetua ne kakrakaka na mpo ombe jeli na womnte so fama no iti wu a wukotena afam wu a wudi atem wu na wutwe aba na boss what lies your credibility idea na ya wu credibility and me buy some ni sabi anim defu ba be kasa
Ahoto FM 92.3
mesi wo ye NDC ni na wo power ene sawusu nsako how na emrano ni wudi a Ghana ni bia na adwemu da ho endi wachi obi biara ya bachi obi na uye fa ne sa sam no nya eyasem no kure ni yachi ne na odi achi no unim nyansa sabi wadwum wo fam na we enemy to the state because we obi a ubu so man Ghana enkonka na nyama nkoyi a umfu akro no so na nado ani na memwo no kro no de wo mo desen asan MPP as a political party no a party a omoye property owning democracy et omomu dia ne se ade ayo oman ne dia no yento humpe na yento ma akurankure enti wo ba hwa no ni ye wo Ghana Telecom ana ye oman ni dia mampani kufo se opon se ye di oman no ye hipik ya ka so oka so oman no ayo hia bubro hia kum koto di tupu ano ye di ye sika che ye nyina mampani kufo se wanton Ghana Telecom ayo oman ni dia ontumi ntua Ghana eya aban edumayefo ka oton ye Emma Ebedani Vodafone na your percentage eko kakra so na Vodafone so be dan e Telecel iti party nankasa no ade ye o man ni dia ne yentom fama ye ho wo be ko hotels bebre wa Kwame Nkrumah tam e ye o man ni dia ya ton ma wo mo so wo bisa se ni aka kira wo se ade na ye o man ni dia o man ni ntumi manage Yehuda we are na ye hotels e wo man Ghana mo yesi hotels no hotels ne boka but ye the man MPP need ya obetumi ato na hotels no enya mfaso meanwhile onusu na no wa aban mu manage sa hotel no so then you ask yourself say some nkrofu we ye di o machi nkrofu ye di o machi do they mean well for us? And a party need look attractive to the stand say Sabonia ba na was say I call ghetto near cover junkies. Yen share yasifia bana yedi Dennis Miracle Abwaji Yoku any hon sem yanko.
Yo medasi edin kan ma me fa inchie mo odin ma yetiefo na ne ahwefo na minchia NDC party chairman General Mosquito minchia Achukulugan Basa Mensa Omna General Office na minchia regional chairman Honorable Ashimo regional executives na me constituency chairman Chairman Bright na minchia software wokruma imam for trotro drivers nyomo mate for ana rasta phone na ayem say Dennis Miracles aboaje asem ne de
FM 92.3
meti ye kra na me yemu ahye me
adan
because say kroma yeti so bia kore saman do mpe na saka ne simu a eno so de ye dede wo ho ye den o saman ne ye hu no na so otimi akore ni do mpe wo hu saman na kore ni do mpe ma na ebu aka osimu a dede ben na ese ye wo ho so wo ho media maka se miracles o he o de ye ka wate o de Ghana fo na aka se ade na efa o minimu a fe he abai won se ye de opportunity mau say di any public sector nim now you wadwen say ho na wo ba be sankwan a bra ti ase say o sankwan ni wi a enkwan ne be sone afa onsa ho sone fa onsa ho na ta free wi a so be hohoro enti accountability no na ye time a wo hohoro onsa no enti hohoro onsa na me ye hu say eduane no ebi amfa bebia na so hohoro onsa na afide eduane hu say enkwan ne na mo abetwa na hu say yes wa hwenkwan ama ne ubu hu akonta amate se MPP fo ni bi ene de o man kotena fom na me wawa because ya ni akotena fom
se so 24 man fo
na de ye hu kura ne se enkrofo a omo so omo kopikete no omo du ho ye akwa bi ma pictures makomako 4 o de honorable Esiedu Nketia Raymond Nacha Miracle Saboaje ana chema Wontumi ana o se hwan ya che no akwa no point general mosquito osi okwa ko free no ba ko so say Raymond Nacha ono Timoto so we obe free Raymond Nacha what be that it tells you clearly say that time now na you say MPP for na eye picketing na MPP for ya ko sasa boys
wow
that's sasa boys ya peka kra mo munko ye dede but when a free final ho ye mobo so hu
akataja free
no ho ye me mobo
oh damfo
me na me catch so mo nkasa fa de ni to wono hwe enyo obi na be catch no so won say ya chi miracles so who statement about bonting who MPP for ho keka edu no so no obi akwa mbo ho wa ene nti si say otena efidie so na say o keka ne nsem na aye onye measured we ankasa emanu hu say sana dia o ye no maybe asema akoka fa obi hu nti ya bon ho po say eda ebe so mene no aje wo de wo se na eyi eno no mo de kire no no enti no ye de ye koye nim em say miracles de obi enim say kroma ye we miracles or ye very vocal yenim obi enim ba enye no so nti but you see like I said say the public official onsa na say accountant ni tue sika na accountant no so no ono no ye spending officer but spending bia no ohia of approval if you wo
okay
oh I know na ya microphone ti ase na say na accountant ni tue then HS miracles sooner why they approve because accountant ni entimi approve any memo na unko yiska CEO ne be approve
ancha ye won change
just say ya chedi peche just say ya chesi kanu amana ya sheshe ani ya chata friend ya mene maka obi a wa mene skani bia obefe obefe because say ya bomwa na wan fia e be ma wedro ama na fa na matu epie ai no hu say yes ye ni agro kroma accountability no eye ade e de chichiro man so what I say Wontumi ma ema metena omamu na onka say accountability de eno de ye kapani agbawo chem so baby na krono sana amano ne na ye kono sana mo chichire na anke baba beton na say want to see ejeli Chinese omo officials ne bi so mo jeli omo na de ne ye de ne de ye na nkrofo akotena form
92.3
can you imagine ye na nkrofo akotena form aso China for jeli omo de obi antena form. And I'm saying my minority forward there. Say they shame on you guys. So I didn't pen on me and some more apologize to the entire Ghanaian public because someone will say like I didn't know me no. I'm someone new. Someone dream yeah accountability. What's my cotton form? Accountability. One kasa why are there? Yes, say bra. Na bra be you no. Be what investigation? Minority see a cotton form. Me expectation ka first on be condemning act no maka say irrespective of that A B C D no ma argue good point so what I say omo argue sana na afede omo kan omo reasons intia omo for say eye hash and I say nye hash so what I say my teacher say MPP for be say and omo ba power and when the table stand
that's right
na table na ten if afahin so what I say the truth of the matter is over power na say NDC ni bi diska fane court MPP time no oh yeah na omaka say go to court oh yeah say go to court and this year so ba bibi no omaka say bi so mo say edem mra na yebuso omuntimi nka mra na yebuso no so it tells you clearly say that time no omaka say go to court no na bibi hwe ho
okay
because yen ba no ade na ye no mra kwan so nti wo ya wo lawyer ni mapa nti ne ebisa say mra no de we ne yebuso nti wo full said ye na enye na omaka so what I say etini ye kwe nim no maka say NDC ochina ebia 2086 say MPP timi ba power na say omoba na say NDC ni bi diska masa ope Heathrow airport kra or the baba ana ope DXB airport wo Dubai even ope Elon Musk SpaceX factory na collateral on be fabro etino so we do 50 million right just 55 million and yes miracle sikano 55 ni ma obe 50 million for ye hundede
because you find no cross to send yes if I begin which
aka 5 million for aka coins and the coins now to chain for 50 million ya born the pot say for 50 million bail condition bra obi ye dede
now those days akufo ba so onu ya obeye nu na ye den ya igbeki last star na say ye den ana ye den star no mu yusu ye meti o man wi mu eni ehun say aban bi ba so Obasu no eye NDC some of the officials ayewo 1 Vita Solomon 2 Chachu Chikata 3 Abudaki obechi omukogu mu to be honest with you then na since Rambo Star say obiti asori dem ni asuma say yenko fa na ni enfa nenko eno ni eye den star eno ni ya Igbekila star ana say Jetli star ana say den star 92.3 ye wa no mu chi eye Abudaki ifa na omuko chi ni wo ena omude ni ko bebi omiko ye wa no mu chi chachu chikata de nu kra de meba ho ye beka wasem very special MPP for strategy bi na sa strategy no omo wo no me see yen NDC we are going to adopt that strategy and we will make sure say the amendments also will go to prison. Hey, yes, I'm telling you, why will I say this? Anytime my MPP beba power no opeso ye bibi it will be share mu communication members wo TV station na radio station omo so na say NDC for ye ba e chi mu bebre e bi se mu ba e mu bokro no ne chi mu bebre we ba ya sem na ye di tu nipa no so e bia na nya nokre ba oma ye bukata bi e na mu di nipa na akọ de akotum se na be ye mu di be reference ama omo na mu di be bibi ama omo na mu di abom abaso so mu ba na be chi NDC for this time we are going to use the same thing. Now mami can tell say uye MPP ni NDC call campaign na ye ko ni ye chin the whole Ghana na ye ka ya asem che Ghana for na Ghana for so ma ye promise say asema ya fa emu ni say musi se nyame ya adum na mu ba power wa o me di oman sika no mu be de u be chi wa agum enu nti no ye bom abaso ye di akonya ni benya ni be mamu
okay
ni edi mamu na mu kwa mu make sure say wa o me di oman sika no mu be de mu be chi oman agum eno mutu abama NDC omutu abama NDC is Excellency John Dramani Mahama or your listenable government wetie dia okaya no bono okoshe nkrofo no o se mi di be de jima for the meeting iyoko na ewo ho no mu no eye oman no iyoko ana say eye President Mahama iyoko na ewo
aye state institution
thank you mami bisa eye Mahama brother and eye the head of iyoko ana eye Mahama ni yiri Lodina nini abema ene ye the head of Iyoko ana eti adena Iyoko boss ya ade na watim nyamu ye ni enye na watim no okan wasema na mu sori na mu di boy Excellency John Dramani Mahama mu di boy NDC ekuta mu ka che say de we kra na sisini esua to be honest if there is access and it's a time and I say there is opportunity aka is Excellency John Dramani Mahama betuna ye ni wo fa sibi Iyoko boss like I will tell him to do that because enu na be boy manipa e be chi no ya chi o magum now dey me aka waji the issue ni say yesi sikasem e na hede aba ya logic complain ya invite you first one akọ second one akọ third one say akọ you say fourth one akọ ye hwehwe oreba we fi abrecha ba na ye ba ya ti say ya chiw ye chiw ye ni boni be na ewom what I was expecting the MPP people ni say anka bela ye man you see MPP for mu suade o mu soro mu si NDC for ye suade ba se ni ye don ma si so makate ama se yesua de oma manipa ni bill omo di sika eden atunu so instead amu be kwa kope sika no na mu di beba be ma na nyama yenja for bill no mdo amema bill no you are rather go there and sit down making noise unnecessary noise na nipa ni da so demo a mu yinu ma nipa no si enka se ebe yi na amamo anka ye maamo bebo say mu na mu be sign fama na
okay one man condition eno na
conditions yes of pay condition e dey mo say pay no make sure say ebe kwa fulfill conditions na dey dey yeti Ashanti region chairman Wontumi abeko tina studio na brrrba onunu wo gold esin eye Asante hene not knowing no owo niama oye ni busi okobo ye okoye frakadam okoye niama ehun hia no yeti ni ko yeko o mama ni bail conditions yema no muri ko o mu yi ni that's right it ya tina miraga baje de no mutio na Wontumi nko you see MPP enipe bia let me tell you one thing me see NDC are going to deal with them obi bia onim say wa force o man sika we di ni o so odi koye one fan kwan koye ni o se sika no odi kobo no van kwan kobo akoko no man peni sesesi jondamani mama koko rose ebinum di enu oti akoji sika na ade o medie yi omu nyina wo sentence them omu ntwen say ye fisu ni eko omu so mu ba omu so mede ome hwe omu national secretary general secretary
okay
na sem ye me mobo se
adan
na sem ye me mobo se ni nkrofo are ready so mbe yi na afio nti o mbe yi na afio election time edu nti e so ke bibi se na be ya nkrofo de be hu se oye adwuma no nya sympathy vote no mo fanto abama ni bi odi o ka kai e fa is excellency John Dramani Mahama no ni nkrofo ni mo mbu efu o mbe yi na afio
adan
ti na se o ka se is excellency John Dramani Mahama sampe tetem intienu nti no wa sheda se omu yewe se no mbe yi nkrofo adwini efi nyama bi so ni wanya kwan akwa yesad ukasa asem we a de na che se wu ya nimdiefu ana se wani ati ana se sebika frache we general secretary na udi you see your life and former president Nanado Dankwa life is the same thing ye wo man we mu no man pani Nanado Dankwa beka chance o ye mranimfo onye economist
okay
it no opeso okofa obi eye economist ba omi anodi ba
just speaking to the mic
okofa economist no di ba no ba no be show man no ni su ndi mrasem enti muma ye mbisa Nanado Dankwa ekufa do se ni ayokofo ye omuchi miraka bo age ni enye mra kwanso a na issue come out to speak o kasa ni entie se enye mra kwanso a o mayen enye mra kwanso so a o mayen but this is the point say Accra ayedi wate because on him say ni ayekoso no ebesi na say